G'day, Aussie Ben. This is a wrap-up video for the series of 8 videos I created showing some basic game creation using GDevApp. This video actually just deals with why I chose GDevApp and how I think it might be useful for schools and similar education institutions to use to introduce game development to their students. Now, I'm going to go ahead and work on some of my level design for the 10 Treasures of Terry while I talk. The major thing that I was looking for was a solution that was completely web-based, something that meant that there was nothing to install on the computers, there were no upgrades that I had to worry about when updates were done to the software, and especially no need to call IT support. Having worked in a school system, one of the big challenges is having to call IT support in every time just to get something installed on the computers. So this GDevApp meets all those requirements. It's all on the web. Nothing needs to actually be configured or installed on the desktop itself, which was great. Now, another key feature was I was after something that was a free application as well, because if I'm using this with a dozen students or 100 students, I don't want to go to through the trouble of having to pay for that and worry about licensing for that. So there certainly is a free version of the GDevApp, and there's no licensing problems or anything like that. So it met those requirements really well as well. One of the other great things with the software as it currently stands is that there's no advertising on the site either. I have come across a couple of online game creators that I haven't tried hugely, but one of the reasons I chose GDevApp over the other ones was the fact that it was a clean website, that there was no pop-up advertising or sidebar advertising that could distract the students. So that was a great feature as well. Now, one of the other things was too, as simple as this program appears to be, I didn't want something that was too dumbed down, and this program certainly isn't. It's great that it lets students learn some very important principles of game design and game development through using logic. It's one of the great benefits of it is that it lets you start to think like a programmer without actually getting bogged down in the code side of things. Now, another important feature was going to be that there needed to be support for this. At the time of recording these videos, GDevApp's in beta development. It's probably been out for less than 12 months, so still got a lot of development to go, and as such there might not be a lot of resources there in terms of how to create things. So if you get stuck, it was important that you needed to be able to reach out and get some professional help, and they've got a forum set up that I've used several times, and the community's been very helpful. I think the group is based in France, and so I'd like to send out a big merci to all the developers in the community who have been helping. They've been really good for me so far, and I'm sure they'll do the same for you. Now, when you've actually created a game, you can either host it for free on the actual GDevApp site itself and share that with other people, which is great. But one of the really fantastic features is that you can also export your game and then host that on your own website. So assuming that you're working on a HTML5 compliant website, you can grab your game, host it on your website, and no strings attached. No advertising, no problems, no licensing problems. So I thought that was a really great feature for schools and for individuals as well, to be able to put their game wherever they want to put their game. So you could put it on some of the other popular game development sites as well. So that was a bit of a bonus. And um, all you need to do, I guess, is just come up with some good, simple design ideas and some goals and make your game and then distribute it. Now, one of the things worth mentioning is that although there's no code that you have to worry about initially, it's very hard to do anything of substance without covering some core concepts in programming such as variables. So that just means that the main educator, the person running the classes, does need to understand that and needs to provide some good examples to the students on how variables work. And it can be a tricky concept, but it's just one that needs to be covered. So that's a bit of a requirement for the educators themselves. And I was thinking about it, and there's a number of different ways you can describe variables, and you can show them the code, have a look over the program that I've created, and that certainly uses a couple of variables, but they're not straightforward at first glance. So if I think about myself as a thing, as an object, I have a variable of happiness, and my happiness might be on and my happiness might be off, depending on what happens. So if I happen to pick up a chocolate bar, my happiness variable might get switched to a 1, which means that that's a little flag, and that means that I can then check that flag later on in my life, and if it's set to 1, my happiness will bring a smile. If I happen to eat a chili, my happiness might get switched to a 0. And so later on, I can check if my happiness is set to 0 to put a frown on my face. So try and think of some fun examples and just be prepared for the fact that even though you might have programming experience yourself, even very, very simple concepts of variables can take some time to make sense to a new student and a new learner. So just be patient and just remember what it was like when you first started programming, and yeah, just see how you go with that. The program can illustrate it for you, but you need to be able to explain it to the students. So there's nothing new there. Now, it's worth noting that there is a desktop version of the app as well. It's got more features, more controls, but for me and for my goals of being able to deliver this sort of program to students anywhere as long as they've got a computer and an internet connection, GDevApp, which is the web-based version of things, works just fine. So I'm in no rush to actually jump to the desktop version, but there certainly is one there, and it will be more full-featured. So that's worth noting. And of course, there's dozens of other desktop-based game development programs, so that's quite a crowded market, and there's plenty to choose from. When I'm doing my desktop development, I actually use Unreal 4, which is a completely different thing altogether, and that's for year-long courses that I might run. So for short courses or for the family getting together and working together to learn game design, this is just a really great opportunity to use this particular piece of software and work together as a group and knock out some little games. So just remember that once you understand the basics of using GDevApp, one of the early things you should then do is just grab a pencil, a piece of grid paper, and you should start to block out your level. You should start to draw out what you want your level to be. So this little level here that I'm working on, that I'll be finished soon enough, is for a game called The 10 Treasures of Terry, and I'll publish that for people to have a look at. But I didn't just start putting blocks on the screen. I actually drew this out on graph paper first and got a rough idea of what I wanted, and then I started to rapidly prototype it using this software, which is working really well. So hopefully you'll have a chance to play this game when it's completed, and there'll be a special hidden surprise in there if you do complete it. There'll be a link to how to create the 10 treasures of Terry. Try and say that fast. Hope you enjoyed. Hope you have some fun with GDevApp.